I've used elephants on 2 occasions, and they were quite different reasons. So the first one was very much around a team building and telling a story. That was for 3 companies that were amalgamating, and that was very successful. It was largely fun. I think the second one was more beneficial for us in that it was around, we had to communicate our strategy to the rest of the business. And Elephant and Main Street we found a way to communicate that strategy effectively in a really fun way. So yeah, that worked, that got the message across. Well, firstly, you can't forget the name. So I actually pulled it from memory from many years ago. So the first time I came across elephants was through Investec, who used elephants for a diversity intervention, which was really successful. And when I had to pull together my first conference, it was immediately a name I turned to, and it was fantastic. So I think one of the differences in using elephants for a team building event was where we communicated the strategy to the staff. We used the newsroom, and it gave the staff an opportunity to really interrogate that strategy and for them to buy into it, because while it was a lot of fun and there was certainly a comedy side to it all, it was equally important in getting across the reasons for doing something in the business. And the feedback from the staff was very much around that they had never had that opportunity, firstly to hear the leadership speak and at such length about where we're going and how we're going to do it, and then to interrogate it as journalists. So it's a very professional team, it's a clever team, and I think it gave them the opportunity to interrogate that process and feel part of it, and it was really effective in for them buying into the strategy. So I think the impact, perhaps to answer your question, is the impact was that the staff bought in to where the leadership team was planning to take the business over the course of 2017. I think Elephant is very professional. So you immediately capture all the cynics who you bring on a conference. So often you get different groups that are looking for different things, and I think Elephants brings it all together. So they bring the intellectual capability that I find attractive, and then they also bring the fun element. So it was a good combination, and I think what is fantastic about it is really even the video footage that you end with something to take home. And today we've actually used that video footage in a lot of our inductions because we think it gives a very useful insight into who we are and how we behave. And so as part of our induction, that video is played quite regularly. I think it's very important for whatever message you're trying to get across, or whoever you're working with, for the senior leaders to meet with that beforehand meeting that is with Steve. It's very important to set the scene and for him to understand your business. And I think he does take that time to fully understand what you're trying to achieve and what the most effective intervention is for your team. But that before meeting I found very useful. And it gave me a sense of comfort that he understood what we were trying to achieve with the event. Well, I think one of the things that the interventions do is it really opens channels of communication. When you're off-site and you are doing something out of the ordinary, it just allows people to get to know one another on a deeper level. So I would say that the change really came about is that people who didn't communicate before communicate really effectively. And I think that's really the change it brings about. We actually took from our newsroom intervention, we took that newspaper home, set it up and actually produced a newspaper which is on the walls of one of our internal meeting rooms. And I think it's just also then serves as a reminder to people about the culture and about who we are. And I hope, so rather than it being an absolute turning point or change point, I think it's more about, it allowed us to bring in that sustainability of that communication and that connectivity that we encourage in our business and encourage conversations. Well, our CEO and Head of Strategic Initiatives who were reported on are actually in Washington at the moment, busy raising a fund. So hopefully, I hope they're going to plan, because the headline was that we achieved beyond what others thought that we could do. And so hopefully they're tracking as we speak. It's very important. I think we work, we don't really have a hierarchical structure. We have open plan, and communication is key. We believe very much in teaming, and so it's important that people get on, have a rapport, are able to connect. And I think that's what the intervention like that does. It allows people to connect and communicate and know somebody on a slightly different level. It takes them out of the daily grind and allows you to understand or know someone a bit differently, and also see how they operate under pressure, because the intervention we did included that pressurized and a bit of a stressful component, and I think it allows you to really see how people react under that. To do an event like that, also you learn to trust one another, and we follow Patrick Lencioni's sort of hierarchy of accountability and results, and really the base to anything I think is trust. And when you take somebody out of the workplace and you put them into a scenario like that, you have to trust that and hold that space. And I think through that communication, I think it builds trust. And I think in order to have results, it starts with trust, because you have to have trust in order to engage in conflict, and to engage in conflict is to buy into the results, to buy into, to commit to outcomes and achieve results. So for me, it really buys into that whole sort of baseline need that exists in a company. I think trust forms the basis of everything. If you're trying to do a culture shift or anything, you've got to trust one another. And I think interventions like what you offer allow people to trust one another, and to trust in where you're going, and trust in the process, and trust in the outcomes that the business is trying to achieve.